wertvollsten Dingen überhaupt, die das Leben hier schon lebenswert machen und die bestimmen.
Right in the middle of Paraguayan Chaco region, there is this town called Philadelphia. And when you stumble into Philadelphia at first sight, it looks like any other middle of nowhere Latin American town. But then you start to pay attention to these little details, like some of the street signs, they're both in Spanish and German. Or some of the people look like, the blue-eyed, tall, blonde folks, just like from Germany. So Philadelphia is not just the capital of Paraguayan Chaco. It's also the largest Mennonite colony in Paraguay and one of the largest Mennonite colonies in all Latin America. Now I guess some of you are wondering, who are the Mennonites and why they have colonies? Well, very long history short. Mennonites are somewhat radical Christian Protestant group, tracing their roots way back to the times of Reformation, 16th century. I guess you're familiar with these guys. Well, these are the Amish people, and their colonies can be found in some places in the US. Mennonites are very much alike, since both Amish and Mennonites are Anabaptists, and both believe that one should commit his or her life to Christ only when he or she is ready, is mature. They're also both extreme pacifists and lead extremely conservative life, mostly in very close, tight communities. Now I guess the next question that comes to your mind is, how did Mennonites ended up living in Paraguayan Chaco? Because of their distinctive beliefs and highly conservative lifestyle, Mennonites were persecuted throughout most of their history. At one point, some Mennonite colonies ended up in Russia, but soon afterwards they had to leave. Oh, what a surprise, minorities fleeing from Russia. Mennonites were on the run again, looking for yet another and another promised land. And that's how, in early 20th century, they stumbled upon South American continent. Okay then, so why Paraguay? Well, actually you can find some Mennonite colonies all over Latin America, but Paraguayan government invited Mennonites with open hands. You see, back in the day Chaco region was considered to be complete no man's land, and it was still not clear whether this territory, this chunk of land belongs to Bolivia or Paraguay. There were very many territorial disputes, and even infamous Chaco War broke out in 30s. So Paraguayan government was more than happy to throw these new citizens into the wilderness of Chaco, into this no man's land, and add some legitimacy to this territorial claim. And this is the second hotel that I'm staying in Philadelphia. And just like in the first one, right next to your bed you can always find your Bible. So if you have some difficulties with sleeping and all that, difficulties with passing out, you just read some, you get connected, and you sleep well. That's the local treatment, that's the local deal. When the first Mennonites came to Chaco region, it was still largely untouched, almost completely virgin. So these people, they had to start from the zero, because there was nothing in here. And they did. They started farming, mostly raising peanuts, raising cotton, but it was still largely subsistence farming. It took them about 20 years to generate any surplus. The pioneers of Chaco region had to face many adversities. Crazy wildlife, the heat, and above all, diseases. And they say that many people died. In fact, it is said that about 60 families left soon afterwards because they just couldn't take it anymore. Like, this green hell was just too tough. And the ones who stayed still remained dirt poor. And at some point it became evident that individual farmers just can't live like that, because it's way too hard to get any credits or to place your products on the market. So Mennonites, communal people as they are, came up with a solution. They came up with their own business model and they created this huge cooperative. And this cooperative of Philadelphia still functions today. Probably it is the beating heart of the local economy at the moment. So as the economy started to grow, at some point heavy machinery was brought to Chaco to clear out the forest and the bushes. They say that Paraguayan Mennonites base their lifestyle on three fundamental pillars: faith, work, and community. And as you can probably guess, ecological sustainability is not one of those. So the great forests of Gran Chaco that were once considered to be impenetrable now are very, very heavily penetrated. So much so that it is said that if this habitat destruction will continue at such a rate as it is now, 75% of Paraguayan Gran Chaco will be gone in one generation. When the first Mennonites came to Chaco, this land was considered to be inhospitable, almost impossible to live, at least for Europeans or people of European descent. Not just Mennonites won the fight against wild and vicious nature. Now wild and vicious nature is in danger because of them. Now I need to be very, very honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. When I came to Philadelphia, I thought I will enter some kind of a closed, radical Christian community and I will try to make some kind of a smart-ass documentary about it. Amateur documentary. But very quickly, I got this impression that these people, they look more like highly successful farmers or highly successful businessmen more than anything else. While only with some strong flavor of teachings of Jesus to it. People in general seem to be extremely shy and even somewhat awkward or almost scared when they saw me. And then I met this guy and I really thought he must be some kind of a tourist. But apparently he grew up in Philadelphia. Cherry on the cake, he speaks fluent English. So I found myself with a local person, almost local person.
Yeah, almost.
You? Almost. You grew up in here?
I grew up here until I was 14.
14, and then went to Canada?
Yeah.
And your ancestors, they came from Russia? Or?
Yeah, that's my dad's side. They came from Russia. My mom is actually from the other colony, and they're from Loma Plata, so, I mean from Canada originally.
Like, to be very, very honest with you, like some of the locals in here, I know it's a close community.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not some kind of a like left-wing crazy, you know, lunatic just poking on the religious people.
Oh, for sure, for
people can live the way they want,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm not, me myself, I'm agnostic, you know, I'm really a liberal dude, but
Yeah.
I've been to religious communities before, all kinds of, you know.
Yeah, this is for sure a very religious community.
Yeah, but I just felt that it's pretty closed in here, you know, like people are really kind of shy or even scared about me, you know. I look like a hippie, you know, pretty much.
Yeah, the long hair, the smoking, tattoos, everything is a little bit frowned upon or whatever, you know. Like my dad had long hair when he was younger, and he was one of the first guys in Philadelphia that had long hair, and he got pretty hated on. So
like on daily basis.
Yeah, he was almost famous because of his long hair. Oh, that's the bad guy over there, you know, like, yeah, so nowadays it has changed a lot. Most of my friends have long hair and stuff like that. So here it's like a very like old Christian, or like it's a old, Christian belief where men are supposed to have short hair, women long hair. Yeah, so
like
that's
traditional patriarchal society. Lady stays in the kitchen doing her stuff.
Exactly,
like,
very much like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you see like big change like recently among the Mennonites, like in general?
The younger people have a lot more knowledge about human rights and stuff like that. So I feel like that a lot of the younger people are gonna change Philadelphia in a few years. You know, because the older people were very much like, oh, we don't, like, more like the natives here were kind of like workers to them.
One more thing, ladies and gentlemen. Paraguayan Chaco was actually never no man's land. Way before Mennonites came to Chaco, way before any white man entered the wilderness of Chaco, all kinds of indigenous tribes were living throughout the region. Now this is one painful and somewhat highly controversial subject, since natives in Paraguay were horribly mistreated by Paraguayan authorities. In fact, in one book that I read, it was said that only in 1957 the Supreme Court of Paraguay declared natives, indigenous people of Paraguay, as human beings. And actually, I did want to visit one indigenous community or indigenous reservation. But people, they seem to be so shy and so awkward about my presence that I just gave up on this idea of getting any footage whatsoever, and I left. And I hit the road again, this time to the wildest part of Paraguayan Chaco. So it's been like 15 or 20 kilometers since I'm cycling down the Grand Chaco Highway again, and I noticed that on every single pole along this electricity line in here there is some kind of a nest. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, but those are the parrots, so-called cotoras. And I really forgot the English name, I'm sorry, but these are arguably the most common parrots in South America and some of the most common birds in this region. They're everywhere, and they used to be common, so much so that back in 19th century in Argentina they were considered to be as pests, as harmful to agriculture. So people used to persecute them and destroy their colonies in all kinds of elaborate ways, spraying venom on their nests or burning their nests, stuff like that. Pretty barbaric, medieval methods they used to use. You know, in the old times it was not a crime. And fortunately for cotoras, unfortunately for the wildlife, and fortunately for bird lovers like myself, cotoras did survive, and they thrive, and they're everywhere. And you can hear them because they live in large groups, and you can always hear them passing by. All parrots are very noisy, very social animals. So first you hear them, and then most likely you will see them. At least to my knowledge, these are the only parrots that actually make collective communal nests. So in one of these there might be several couples of cotoras living in there. And as the years are passing by, some new couples come in and join the nest, and you know, it just grows. So basically this is like a communal house, like a little community of parrots in every single one of these. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I found myself in a little town called Mariscal Estigarribia, and this is the very last town before the Great Wilderness, which is the northern part of Paraguay. And this is the last stopover for me, the last spot where I can do any shopping, get the most necessary things, you know, fundamentals, food, water, you know, bicycle tubes, stuff like that. I can still do it here, because from here further on is just 400 or 500 kilometers of wilderness, and very few people living in there, mostly indigenous communities, so I need to be ready. And this is the food that I bought and will consume for the next 2 weeks to come, maybe 3 weeks to come. I know it doesn't look that much, or maybe it does, but I think it should be enough. And also I do believe there must be some kind of a little tienda on the way, because there are some villages on my way, maybe 2-3 villages, really tiny ones, but I mean, people still sell stuff, so I should get by. And also there are some edible plants that I could consume on the way too, or just go completely berserk and butcher some animal and eat it too, you know, whatever happens. The major issue is water. I need to somehow carry as much water as I can. I don't know, I'll try to buy like 10 liters, 12 liters, because it's really hot, and there are some places with fresh water on the way. They're actually marked on the map, but they just scattered all over the place, here and there. And this Paraguayan dry Chaco region is known to be like very arid, very desertic, and even though it's rainy season, it's still very sketchy, you know. Like there is some rain, even storms on the forecast, but there was rain on the forecast yesterday too, and it was just sunny and hot all day long. So you know, sometimes forecasts make sense and sometimes they don't, you know. So now the main problem is to get all this and this and then this into this. And it will take some time, but it always works out one way or another. But then on top of all that, I need to put some water, like to place as many bottles of water as I can. And I think it will take some extra creativity, but you know, I think I should take my time. Like I'm really thrilled about all this affair, you know, like I'm planning to take it really easy, to explore wilderness, wildlife as much as I can. But I need to be ready, like I really need to be ready, because it's a really remote area I'm talking about. Aren't too many people in there, and if something, I mean, if shit goes down bad, something happens, I need to be ready. Like, yeah, just ready as much as I can. I'm an amateur, but like I'm really competent amateur, you know? So I won't fail.
Thank you.